Hi, everybody. Welcome. I'm a little late today because life has a tendency to interfere, doesn't it? We are going to talk about Harry's speech at the Clinton Global Initiative event in New York. At first, I thought I'll do what I did before and transcribe the speech and take it line by line, but I changed my mind. We know that Harry paid a speech writer more than he earned for his appearance to help with the speech, and that he was indeed very nervous about giving this particular speech. But guys, I'm sure the speech writer was told what to write, and that Harry and or Meghan once again did not take advice, because such a load of hogwash I have not heard in my life before. A load of sanctimonious, hypocritical rubbish. His speech was all about Archwell's Parents Network, which in itself I find a little, shall we say, not well thought out, to say the least. And here is why I think so. Yes, it is a good thing that parents who lost children have a community to reach out to. I'm not denying that. But this parents network is indeed at the moment very specific. It is for parents of children who unalived themselves because of online bullying. Now, I would have thought that prevention is better than cure, and would have thought that if anyone like Harry and Meghan wanted to prevent this kind of thing from happening, they would have focused on education, information, and mental health, and that they would have recruited some professionals to help them educate parents and children of the dangers of the online world and social media, and how to deal with it should they encounter a specific scenario. Maybe they could even have established a helpline where kids could phone for advice or when they are really desperate. That would have made so much more sense to me. Anyway, I did some research, and when I look at the small number of parents who joined the Parents Network and their stories, I compare it to what I have read. And I'm so sorry to say it, but it is my opinion that what happened would most likely have happened regardless of the internet and social media. The one teenager, for instance, passed away after he took tablets which he bought on the internet. Well, unfortunately, in my opinion, even if that teenager did not have access to the internet, he would likely have bought some at school from another kid or maybe from a street corner. If he felt he needed it, he would have made a plan. I also understand online bullying. We as YouTube creators are subjected to it on a regular basis. People wishing us dead, calling us names. I've been called racist, jealous, crazy, retarded, and a couple of things I would rather not have coming out of my mouth. It happens. But I'm not blaming YouTube. YouTube had provided me with all the tools I need to prevent this kind of behavior. And because I'm using those tools, I get very little of it on my YouTube platform itself. Yes, people still get ticked off. They think my channel is an airport and announce their departure. And yes, a couple of nasties still slip through. But YouTube has a filter in place that we can use. We can hide someone from the channel, we can block them, etc., etc. And if all else fails, we can report a bully to YouTube. They will look into it, and if they find gross misconduct or threatening behavior, they can block someone's IP address, which either means that they cannot come back on the channel even if they create a new account, or in very dire circumstances, they cannot get back on YouTube at all. Facebook, Instagram, and most other social media platforms have similar safeguards or tools to minimize the risk of serious bullying. But yes, Harry was talking about children. So let's talk about children. YouTube, for instance, has a button you have to click below every video, and you have to choose made for children or not made for children. And you cannot move on unless you answer that question. Of course, my videos are all marked not made for children because I may use a swear word or two from time to time, or the topics I discuss should not be of any interest to children. As a conscientious parent, you have settings on your television set and your laptops where you can adjust your settings so that your child cannot access anything made for adults. I know because I have a grandson and we have Wi-Fi and Netflix because we do not have our normal SABC channels. Until about 2-3 years ago, Dragonman could not access anything other than children's programs on Netflix because we homeschooled him. He had his own laptop since grade 3, I think. But again, he could only access certain videos and games. He could, for instance, not access anything for anyone over 12 or adults. Dragonman is 14 now and still does not have Facebook, Instagram, X, or any other social media accounts. We had to load WhatsApp for him because his class has a WhatsApp group. His drama teacher has a WhatsApp group, and so does the school newspaper, the chess club, etc., etc. But all these groups are indeed monitored by a specific teacher. There is so much a parent can do, actually more than the social media platforms themselves. And that is where I'm stuck with Harry's narrative, because he can very dramatically point to the faces on the screen behind him and blame the internet and social media for the unalivings of these children. But not once does he come up with an idea. Not once does he make a suggestion or come out and say what he would want the social media platforms to do. I mean, what do they really want? Why not rather educate parents as to how they can use the tools already in place to protect their children, educate children how they could or should recognize bullies and predators and what they can do about it. That, in my opinion, is what is important, not this vague blame shifting. According to Harry, young people are disproportionately affected by their online experience. Now, I'm not 100% sure what he means by this. Disproportionately compared to what or who? But let's assume that Harry means young people are more affected than adults. Then I'm afraid Harry's statistics are incorrect, and where it may be the case, it could very well be the adults, the caretaker, or even, I'm sorry to say it because it is hurtful, the parents' fault. At least in the majority of cases. There are always, of course, and I absolutely accept and acknowledge it, there are always exceptions. Parents often both work. They are tired when they get home and do not mind the kid being up in his room on his computer. It may also take them a little longer to notice that something is wrong with their child. Or then, as I already said, the parents may not know about the tools available to them, which they can use to help protect their children. Anyway, back to statistics. Here is a long list of reasons why children and teenagers unalive themselves, and the list comes from different websites and a third-year psychology handbook. The sites I used for my research are, among others, AACAP, Turnbridge, John Hopkins Medicine, and the scenarios on the list are not in any particular order. So here goes. A family history of self-harm and unaliving, exposure to violence, either in the home or outside the home. When we talk about the home, we obviously talk about DV, impulsivity, aggressive or disruptive behavior, access to firearms, feelings of hopelessness, mental health disorders such as depression, a history of trauma, chronic stress, substance abuse problems, events in the family such as the death of a family member or divorce, bullying. So from there, I went and did some more research on bullying. And again, I consulted numerous websites, and I looked at a 2021 study and a 2024 study, and both open with more or less the same statement. No single factor puts a child at risk of bullying or bullying others. Let me highlight what I just said. No single factor puts a child at risk. In other words, access to the internet and or social media alone is not a factor. It is a combination of escalating factors which can end up in such a devastating result. These sites also make it very clear that bullying can happen anywhere and to anyone. It can happen at school, it can happen where you live, and it can even happen in rural areas where people do not have access to the internet, at least not at home. Your child does not need access to the internet to be bullied. It can happen anywhere, even at church and Sunday school. Social media is often just an extension of what is already happening elsewhere, like at school. Most children are bullied by someone they know, usually their classmates or peers, or even an older sibling. Vulnerable kids, kids who are introverted, anxious, or submissive, are more likely to be bullied. Boys are more likely to experience physical bullying, while girls are more likely to experience psychological bullying. At pacer.org, you will find the latest statistics on bullying, and I'm going to give you only one portion of these statistics. Bullied students reported that bullying occurred in the following places: 43% in the hallway or stairwell at school, 42% inside the classroom, 27% in the cafeteria, 22% outside on the school grounds, 15% online or via text, 12% in the bathroom or locker room, and 8% on the school bus. 49.8% of children 9 to 12 years old said they experienced bullying, and of that 49.8%, 14.5% also experience bullying online. 13% reported experiencing bullying at school and online, while only 1% reported being bullied solely online. So this proves exactly what I said before. The online bullying is mostly spilling over from what is already happening elsewhere. Okay, now with that out of the way, I really advise parents, grandparents, and caretakers to take a little time and go study some of the information out there. It is really important to be able to recognize signs in your children. I mean, go learn, teach yourself how to use the tools which has already been provided by the platforms to protect your children, and teach your children how to block bullies. Now let's talk about Harry. Tell me, how can Harry point fingers at anyone, be it individuals, social media, or whatever, whomever, if he and his wife, through their narrative and lies in the Oprah interview, the Harry and Meghan mockumentary, and Harry's book, caused their own families to be threatened, how they effectively sold their family's private information. And I mean, you may differ from me on this, but yeah, I think Harry is a bigger culprit than Meghan, because he is, for instance, the one who told us that him and his brother were circumcised. Did he actually ask his brother whether he minds having that information out in the public? No, he didn't. And that is only one example. There are really many. The next thing we have to address are the numerous accusations of bullying by Meghan and Harry. Okay, more Meghan than Harry, but according to reports, Harry is Meghan's enabler. Remember what Harry said? What Meghan wants, Meghan gets. So here we have one part of the bullying duo preaching against bullying. As we now know, the accusations are no longer only coming from the British staff, but also American staff. So they can no longer blame the stayed British or cultural differences. So we have bullies preaching against bullying. I mean, make that make sense. It just doesn't. Now, I am 100% convinced that most parents who have Wi-Fi in their homes know how to control the internet on their children's devices. And those who don't can ask and learn in 5 minutes. And I'm sure Harry, being part of Better App and who had been using Skype and social media himself, who is the owner of the Archwell website, knows about these things and how to do it himself. So I do not believe him or in his crusade. I think he is not talking about protection as much as he's talking about censorship, and that he is only using children to pull at our heartstrings. We know already that Harry thinks free speech is bonkers. And what about the Sussex squad? I'm not saying that there aren't a few nutty Mexiteers, because unfortunately there are. But even more unfortunate is the fact that most of us have physically seen and heard the disgusting things done and said by some of the Sussex squad. The threats, the letters and email they sent, not only to us, but also to William, Catherine, and I believe even the King and the Queen when she was still alive. Not once have I heard Harry or Meghan criticize or speak out about the appalling behavior by these people who did it in the name of their masters, Harry and Meghan. Not once. Now, instead, they gifted some of these Sussex squad members money, made phone calls to them to thank them for their support, and so forth. Harry also has no education in IT or mental health. His credibility after he lied and gaslit people is indeed shot. So how anyone can give credence to what he has to say is absolutely beyond me. And my friends, now to end this video, I'm going to take you to the Archwell Foundation's Parents Network Join page. You can enlarge your screen if necessary. If you want to join, you have to give quite a bit of private information before you get to the bottom. And I'm going to read to you what it says there. I consent to the Archwell Foundation's collection and processing of personal data, including personal data that may reveal race, ethnicity, political opinions, religious or philosophical beliefs, trade union membership, health information, and or sex life or sexual orientation in order to provide the Parents Network. Okay, and then they don't finish the sentence. Provide the Parents Network with what? But anyway, it carries on. I provide this consent on my behalf and on behalf of my children if I provide personal data about them. I understand that I may withdraw this consent at any time by emailing support@theparentsnetwork.org. I acknowledge that any personal data I disclose through the Parents Network interactive features may be viewed, collected, and used by others. It is held under strict privacy conditions by the Archwell Foundation and will never be sold or disclosed to outside entities. Now, okay, guys, this does not make sense at all. First, you consent that everything you do can be viewed, collected, and used by others. But then they say the Archwell Foundation won't sell or disclose it to outside entities. It makes no sense unless what they are not saying is that Harry or Meghan or Archwell Productions or any of their other 13 companies may disclose or sell it. I mean, that's a possibility. But what do you think? Anyway, guys, it was a heck of a day today, so I'm going to leave this here for now. Hopefully, we'll have a more peaceful day tomorrow. So until we meet again on the next one, please take care of yourselves. Until then, bye.